Welcome to the very first part two of a Huddle House, where we had to try to go through a second half because we just got too talkative last week. We got part two going right here, just here with the same guys, Ty and Carter. How's it going, guys?
Great.
It's all right. I got COVID, so you're looking at it. This is what's been all day.
How's the symptoms? Do you have anything?
Not really. I had kind of a slight headache this morning, but I've been pretty much fine.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Carter, you actually have a background this time.
It's a wall. Was more enjoyable than a blurry screen.
A little bit.
You can see my face. That's all that matters.
All right, well, we got to get into this. We still have 8 teams to go through, and we're probably trying. We're not going to try to do a part 3, so let's get through these. Start off kind of where we left off last week. Just to do a quick recap of last week, we ended on James's team at number 9. Had some really positive things to say about his future, and now we're going to get into his little brother Jake at Power Scrubs Incorporated at number 8. Carter, start us off. Tell me what you think about old Jake's team.
Well, the first thing that catches my eye whenever I look at this report is his average roster age is 30.1. I know Tom Brady kind of raises the bar a little bit with him being 44, almost turning 45 this year and all. But he still has an overall pretty old roster. I know his most notable trade was with Marcus. He dealt away Javonte Williams to Marcus for Antonio Gibson and Van Jefferson, and then like a few picks. And he got Gibson back. Gibson's 23, 24-year-old running back, but he gave away a big part of his future with Javonte. So that's going to hurt him a little bit. So that's why he's as low as 8, but I think he's in pretty good shape for this year.
Yeah.
I think
You can go, Ty.
to keep going down the list of his trades he made, the one that really stands out to me was his deal where he sent Michael Gallup and Mike Williams for Jimmy G, Adam Thielen, and 2 second-round picks. But he also sent a first-round pick that I forgot to mention in that deal. I think that's just a horrendous deal, all things considered, looking back on it now. I mean, Michael Gallup's going to have that. He's a starter there with Amari Cooper gone. Mike Williams is signed a new deal. He's going to be in an explosive offense and have a prominent role. And right now, Jimmy G doesn't have a job. Adam Thielen is on the wrong side of 30. And those second-round picks, one turned into Brian Robinson, and I'm not sure what happened with the other one. But, I mean, it seemed like you gave away 2 pretty good playmakers there and got older and less talented. And the 112, Mitri ended up doing something with that, I think. I don't think he held on to that. But I think that deal definitely stands out in the way of getting him older.
Didn't like that one. And then he trades 2 seconds for Michael Thomas, who definitely has some upside for this year, but also getting up there in age, coming off 2 straight years of not playing. I mean, I can speak as a former Michael Thomas owner how much stress he just gave me of knowing he wasn't going to play every week. I thought he was going to, and I never knew what to do with him. So yes, there is potential there that I was kind of holding on to him for. I've definitely had my fair share of compliments for him when I've been trying to shop him in the past, but I understand he's a very risky player that you never know if he's going to be good like the old Michael Thomas or if he's going to come out and be wide receiver 45 this year, play half the season. And it's just total wild card of a player. So looking at his quarterback, Tom Brady is always good. I know he's on the older side, but he's always good. Definitely going to buy Jake some time to get a young quarterback in the future to replace him. So he'll be fine at quarterback. Austin Eckler's still very good. Getting to that kind of age at running back where you're looking to move off of him in a year or two probably because he's getting, almost, I think he's 28 now. So, but for the next couple seasons, still a great player. Probably a top 3 or 4 running back. Not a huge Gibson believer at the moment, especially after all these signings and things Rivera said about them kind of, being like they were in the Panthers with kind of having a committee backfield, just kind of iffy on how much of the workload he's going to get, especially in the passing game. But overall, and I don't like his receiving core. DK Metcalf gets a downgrade without Russ. And then, like I said, Thomas, Thielen's wrong side of 30. Robert Woods, yeah, I mean, he's going to be in a prominent position, but he's also old. and
Odell
doesn't have a
is not
major
gonna play.
future. What?
Odell's not going to play this.
Odell's not going to play.
Yeah, so it's just it's pretty uninspiring receiving core. So I think I I think he's right there with James, and I'd almost in a way sort of lean James's team. I'd probably put Jake at like 9.
I think, yeah, it's
Maybe.
interesting. I think he's in a position to compete this year, and I think he has some pieces that, like Eckler, obviously, is a really good piece. I think he could very well be a competitive team this year, but the future definitely is a little less than bright for him. I mean, I'm glad he got that 2024 first and the deal for Javonte. I mean, I know he's kind of like looking forward to that draft as a time to reload, but just seems like he has more holes that are going to open up that he doesn't really have a plan for to fill with the way his team is. But he did go 11-3 last year, so he could very well make another run at it this year.
Especially if he gets that type of production from Eckler again. We'll see if he can duplicate it. But yeah, there's definitely some potential there. Tom Brady's always reliable, so we'll see what happens. But moving on to number 7. Real quick, he has one sticker, and I do love the name of this one. It's when you are old and gray. And the little image for the sticker is just like 2 old grandparents.
That's a tough
one. Well deserved.
Yeah, so oldest projected starting lineup. So he's definitely got some rebuilding to do in a couple years when a lot of those guys are retiring. But we'll see what happens. Moving on to number 7, we got Marcus. I almost feel like I had to keep him at 7 because he does have a history in our league of finishing one spot outside the playoffs. So this seems pretty typical of his past fortunes. So I don't know, maybe 7's right for him. But let's dive into Marcus's team a little bit. Ty, kick us off.
Yeah, so I think he had a pretty good offseason in my mind. I think he acquired not 1 but 2 cornerstone dynasty assets at the most important position, which is running back, with Javonte Williams in the trade with Jake. I'm huge on the idea of getting off Antonio Gibson. That was a nightmare for him all last season, and it does not look like it's going to end anytime soon in Washington. And then also flipping 102 and 202 to move up to select Breece Hall at the 101. I think those are some really nice assets that fit his timeline quite well. So he has a quarterback that's young in Lamar and is due to get paid. And then he also has a really nice core with Breece, who we assume is going to be pretty good, and Javonte, who we also assume is going to be pretty good. I know Javonte's going to have to split the backfield again this year, but in the long term, paired with Justin Jefferson, that's an awesome core right there. So I think he got a really good offseason. I think he got a lot better. I definitely love the upside of his team. So seems like an appropriate ranking for him to be in the top half of the league to me.
For Dynasty, I'd probably put him slightly higher than 7. Probably put him like 5 or 6. I think he's in a really nice spot. He's been a great manager since the Dynasty started. He had some misses in the draft. Definitely had a few trades that haven't gone his way, but for the most part, every time I see a trade that involves Marcus, I typically end up favoring his side slightly. So I do think he's done some good things for his team. As far as his backfield, I think it's a top 2, maybe 3 Dynasty backfield. Maybe not for next year. Next year, it might be like, 8th or 9th best, just because both guys are so young and, gonna still kind of coming into their shell, But for Dynasty, by the time these guys are 25 or 24, 25, I think they're going to be top RB1s in the league, So I think he's got a great outlook at running back. And obviously Justin Jefferson is it's close for him between him and Jamar, but I would lean Jefferson as the wide receiver 1 for Dynasty. I just think he's so consistent. So got such a good floor while also still having a high ceiling as well. So he's just so reliable. Cortland Sutton is bound for a massive improvement with Russell Wilson. So, and we forget Cortland Sutton. I mean, yeah, he's had some injuries in his career, but he's still only like 25 years old. So it's not like he's an old man just because he's, missed a season in his career. Like he's still got a lot of time left. And if Russ plays several more seasons and they develop a little bit of chemistry there, I like Cortland as like a mid-level wide receiver 2. What I think holds Marcus back for at least for next year is his flexes and his tight end. I mean, his tight end's probably gonna be like Hunter Henry. That's a low end tight end. And then also just having like Dotson, I like him as an upside player for the future, but I don't like the idea of having to start him and Boyd in my flexes. Don't really think that's a very strong flex duo there. So I think that's going to really hurt him. It's just kind of having 2 positions where he's not getting great production next season. But next season, I'd probably put him right around 7 or 8, like I said. But for Dynasty, I think he's probably top 5 or 6.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I witnessed Marcus be a patient because I don't know, while like half of us in the league are being very aggressive traders, Marcus just sat there. He had a plan. He was very patient in this offseason. He made a splash wherever he could take an opportunity. But I'm going to disagree with you with the Hunter Henry start. I think Hunter Henry is a top 15 tight end right now, and it's because of Mac Jones. And I know I might sound a little biased because I'm a Patriots fan, but our receivers are not red zone threats at all. And he looks to Hunter Henry in the end zone whenever we are in the red zone. I promise you that. And it's just going to get better this year. I think Mac is going to improve. And I think Hunter Henry's going to be his guy for the next few years. And of course, to add on what y'all said about Justin Jefferson, I think he's the guy. He's about to get a bag here soon with his wide receiver market. He's going to get paid a lot of money, and he might be a Viking for life. I don't think they'll ever let him go. So I love Marcus's team right now, especially in the dynasty aspect. But for the sake of time, yeah, I'll put him top. He's put him at 7 is pretty fair, but probably put him at about 5 or 6, like you, Barnes.
Just one last
Okay.
comment on his team. I think he got the Soggy Bottom Award for the worst rated tight end. Probably the most unreflective thing of him. And it's even shown in this little pyramid here, as you can see. There's no bottom on it. Really, there's no bottom. So unlike Marcus to come up short in that area, but he does.
Yeah, definitely got to go trade for a tight end just so you can kind of flip that.
Yeah.
Be more reflective of his actual stature. Great. Yeah, we'll agree to disagree about Hunter Henry. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, you said top 15 tight end as if that's supposed to like sway me, but there's 14 teams in the league. So if he's 11 to 14 range, that's a bottom tier tight end for starting tight ends. So in order for what I'm saying is if he's like top 7 or 8, then he's a mid-level tight end, for our league. I think as far as our league starting tight ends, he's still one of the worst, if not the
Fine.
worst.
I'll change it. I'll say top 10 fantasy tight end this year.
All right, that's a
You
little
want to bet $20?
That's a good argument.
All right, number 6, we got Austin. So runner-up from last season. One of those guys that, he comments some nice, insightful stuff in the chat every now and then. We're like, hey, there's Austin. But for the most part, he's kind of kept his team pretty much intact. He's made some small moves when he can as far as in the waivers and stuff, but has not been one of the big traders of our league. But let's kind of talk about his team. I guess I'll kind of start for this one. And I mean, what a core. He's got an amazing core here. Justin Herbert, definitely a top 2 or 3 dynasty quarterback. Fantastic start. You can always rely on him every week. He's always pretty good, and just an unbelievable talent. Najee Harris, probably my RB2 for dynasty. I think most people would probably put him top 2 or 3. His workload is just unbelievable. So you can very much rely on Najee as an RB1. I like A.J. Dillon. Maybe not as I like him okay for next season, but for dynasty, I like him even more because who knows how much longer Aaron Jones is going to be the guy in Green Bay. I think it's already a split backfield, and the more Dillon shines, I think the more he can kind of take over that role. And he's a great running back, so I like that quite a bit. But I mean, I'm looking at his receiving core, and I think it's got some guys that I would say are likely to kind of drop off a little bit. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of peaked late last season. I still think he's going to be a good player, but I just don't see that type of production, where he's putting up 20 a week. Like I think he's going to go back down with the addition of Jameson Williams, and DJ Chark. Like they just got more competition in that receiving core, and they don't have a quarterback that can support it right now. So I think he kind of finishes as a low, mid to low end flex guy. Elijah Moore just got Garrett Wilson as competition there. Also, an unproven passing offense. So not a huge fan of his wide receiving core right now, but he does have an unbelievable tight end, Mark Andrews, who's a top 2, maybe even number 1 tight end for next year at least. Dynasty wise, he's probably a top 3 tight end. So I like his team, but I would probably put him at 5 or 6. I think this is pretty accurate.
All I see when I look at his team, or all I think about is just imagine if Calvin Ridley was in the starting lineup. how much better that wide receiver would look. He's really caught some sour breaks there with all the stuff that's happened with Calvin, but I feel like you kind of said everything that needs to be said in that. Love the quarterback room and running back room. The wide receivers are. I kept thinking they weren't going to get it done last year, and they kept getting it done for them. So, I mean, I think they're just enough solid guys there to round out a lineup. And Mark Andrews is probably going to have a monster year. So, like his lineup, and he got Damian Pierce in the draft, who could, take over that Texans backfield for this season. And who knows how well, depending on how well he does. So, Austin, like we said, he's not the most active trader. He likes the guys he drafted and he rocks with them. And it obviously worked for him last year. But you did disrespect the sun god, Matt, talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's one of his stickers because he has Amon-Ra St. Brown starting.
The sun god. I love how the whole sticker just says Amon-Ra St. Brown is starting. Yeah. Like that's worthy enough of just getting a sticker. So it's pretty funny. And then also a tough crowd sticker. It says lowest rated rate my league staff ranking versus consensus, meaning I guess consensus has his team a lot higher than their staff does that did this chart, I guess, meaning there's a lot of disagreement there. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what that spread looks like and
what they know. It has to be the wide receiver. Look how that's their wide receiver right there.
Yeah.
This thing is not even close to being balanced there compared to quarterback and tight end, especially. So I feel like that's where they would have had to knock them.
Yeah. Carter, did you say any opinions about it? Keep it kind of brief.
I'm gonna side with the consensus there, just based on the wide receiver room. It's super thin. I mean, we Keenan Allen, he's just getting older. I think he's turning 32, 33 this year. And Elijah Moore looked promising last year, but they acquired Garrett Wilson in the draft. I think that's going to be Zach Wilson's guy. And, of course, what you said, Barnes, Mark Andrews is going to be a top 3 dynasty tight end. He's going to be great. Najee Harris is going to be great. A.J. Dillon, it's still in the works. We're going to see how he's in there with Aaron Jones in Green Bay. And Justin Herbert's a top 5 dynasty QB. So this, honestly, he could be a wild card. He could fluctuate from best team in the league maybe eventually to maybe one of the bottom ones. So we'll just have to see. But I think that is an appropriate sticker for him to get is tough crowd for sure. I'm going to side with that.
Moving on to number 5, we got Jeremy. Jeremy's had a very eventful offseason, but it's been things that have been out of his control. So just kind of stuff's happened to his team. Like his team looks a lot different after Tyreek moves to the Dolphins and AJ moves to the Eagles. Like those are his top 2 receivers now in new homes, where a lot of people would kind of argue both were downgrades. And so those are things that he can't control. I still think those are unbelievable players that will be good still. But, you kind of have to make an argument and see if he might get a little bit less production from both of them due to something that he completely could not control. But love his flex receivers, man, having Deontay Johnson and Jameson Williams both in his flexes. Jameson maybe for next year alone might not be an unbelievable flex, but I still think he's a perfectly startable guy. And I think he's going to get a good season from Leonard Fournette next year. I don't see any reason why he would really regress with that offensive line being as good as it is and still having Tom Brady. I mean, that's still going to be a very high-powered offense. And Lenny's still getting those touchdowns, especially after Ronald Jones departs. So don't see any reason why Leonard's not a top, 7 or 8, maybe at worst like 10 as far as running backs next year. And Joe Burrow, man, he's going to take him to the promised land. So I would probably, if it was me, flip Austin and Jeremy, but Jeremy would still be like my 6th spot.
Yeah, Jeremy took a hit at running back this offseason for sure. With the Jets drafting Breece Hall and everything.
Yeah,
Michael Carter was his running back for the future. That took a hit, and I love to see it because we have the 2 brothers. They have a little rivalry now and see who's going to play over the other one.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. The Leonard Fournette, he's still going to be a beast this year. He was a beast last year before he got hurt. Elijah Mitchell, we never know with these San Francisco running backs who's going to start.
5 of them now.
Yeah. I mean, they drafted another one in the draft this year.
Yeah.
But his receivers are just unbelievable, man. Like unbelievable. I love seeing those, but his running back room is just so thin. So I would have him a spot below probably. See, I would have him at 7. I would have Marcus probably in his spot. I'll have Marcus at 5.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he made some good moves this offseason. I liked him moving off of Amari to get younger in Dion.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, I think it made sense for you too, though. And I wouldn't say it was a one-way thing. You were going all in, but in his instance, pivoted down and got younger and somebody who had a lot of receptions. It remains to be seen what that offense will look like without Big Ben dumping it off to him every time. But just in theory, I like that move. Like you said, Burrow, I think he's going to have a big year. Running back, he got hit with a lot of handcuffs and competition, but also just receivers like Tyreek Hill leaves the place where he's, the main guy. Now he's sharing that with Waddle and a lesser quarterback. A.J. Brown goes from being the only dog in Tennessee to maybe not the best passing offense, and also sharing that with Devontae Smith. Those are two tough hits to premier wide receivers who probably will still be good, but who feel a little less, their ceiling's a little bit lower than it was last year because of their landing spots, I think, this year. But the rest of the names in there, I think it's just limitless potential. Jamison Williams, Nico Collins. I really like Alec Pierce. And then I even want to make a quick mention of his tight ends because he didn't really get much love at all on the chart position breakdown here for the tight ends. But I think that these guys, I think he's got one guy that's going to emerge that's going to be really good out of this group, Cole Kmet or Irv Smith Jr., because they're at the top of their depth chart now. There's no one in Chicago, so Cole should be able to get some targets. And in Minnesota, there's nobody. Irv Smith has always been destined for a breakout. Now he's kind of got that to himself. He got injured last year, so I like his lineup. I think he's got a lot of potential. Feels like a fair spot to me. I think I hear what you guys are saying and flipping him with Marcus, but I think his team's just deeper and more ready to compete now while also not sacrificing too much in the future. So I think he's good where he's at.
That's like I said, I have him at 6. I still put him above Marcus probably, but him and Austin are neck and neck for me. It's just kind of a coin flip. Like I said, Austin is a wild card. Austin, if things go wrong for Austin in regards to his players not hitting anything close to what they were last year, he could finish 10 to 14 range. But I also see Austin as a guy that, he keeps a lot of the pace he had last year, could finish top 2 or 3. So I just trust his team slightly more. But I still like Jeremy's team quite a bit. I think he's done a lot of good work. So moving on to number 4, we got the notorious Lucas Weiland. The man who texted me today was like, when are you guys doing Huddle House? When are you guys doing part 2? I'm anticipating this so hard, like more than any movie I've ever seen. Like
he just wants to hear us compliment him, man.
Yeah.
He just wants to hear his team being complimented.
I told him if he gives me a first-round pick next year, I will praise him and make him a permanent host on the Huddle House. And he said he thinks he'd rather just be an occasional guest. So I tried. It was worth the shot. No collusion there.
Since I'm his namesake, let me start off the conversation on Lucas's. This is a very big year for him. This is going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out. He set himself up to have a ton of flexibility this year. If he gets off to a good start, he can go all in and go for the championship. He has the ammos and the draft picks to get pretty much anybody he wants. So other than Jonathan Taylor, I guess. But that's another story. We'll get into that. I think
Devontae Adams, that was the problem.
I think getting T. Higgins, love that move. I thought at the time it seemed like, wow, he might be paying a little bit much there. Looking back at it, I think that was a great move. T. Higgins blows Michael Pittman out of the water, and I don't think the 108 it balances it out in theory, but I think T. Higgins is going to be that good next year. No bias.
Yeah, we know you don't think too much about the 108 guy.
No bias.
We know Todd's not part of it.
Yeah, the 108 don't matter that much.
That's the man wearing a Super Bowl shirt for the Bengals right now.
So I think that was a great move for him. That's a big dynasty asset. I liked the idea of. Well, he also just had a lot of things go right for him too. Like he gets Rashad Bateman, then Hollywood Brown gets traded. He just had a few things break his way like that. Landing Mike Evans was also big. So I think he's got a lot of young talent now, and also that obviously that draft capital in the future, which is going to be incredible ammo. So I think that you gotta like the position he's in going in this year. I know he's excited about it. His running backs remain to be seen. I guess they're maybe not like remain to be seen. It's just unsexy, the guys he has there. Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris.
Yeah.
It's like
Nobody pops off the screen is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I think he's most likely going to get that in this upcoming draft. So
one would think, and he could probably get pretty much like any position in that draft he wants, just because how many picks he has. So
yeah,
that's what I think with it. Jalen Hurts, I know everybody said like, well, it's a trial run. We'll see if he'll be the guy. But I saw people talking on Twitter about the Eagles are planning on giving him like a long-term deal or something soon. So who knows? He's just got a position where he's a lot of young guys, a lot of talent, and see who emerges. So it's very easy to see why he's high at number 4 on this ranking because of all that draft capital and because his average age is 24.6. Look out, kid, the youngest projected starting lineup sticker.
He also has a dragon sticker. I don't know why they call it dragon, but that's most draft capital. I hate complimenting Lucas just because it's kind of a running thing that I just absolutely have to hate his team. But I mean, words can't say or explain a lot of the amazing moves that he's been able to pull off, and it definitely seems like this ranking kind of does value like next year slightly more in dynasty, in my opinion. Because if we're talking like just pure dynasty value, I mean, he's probably 1 or 2 in the league. I just feel like it's kind of hard to deny that with the amount of picks he has. To really just like his bench. I mean, this man's gonna be starting like first round picks throughout his entire bench in here in a couple of years because of his draft capital. So there's gonna be a lot of young talent on this team. I've liked almost every move he's made in dynasty so far. There might be a few minor misses, but nothing too major. As far as next year alone, I think he might make the playoffs, but I don't know if he'll be the 4 seed. I think if he gets in, he'll be like the 5 or 6. But I do think he's capable of making it with that really solid receiving core, having a good quarterback for fantasy, and having, a pretty solid tight end in Pat Freiermuth, along with just a lot of young talent to give him depth and make sure he's starting the right guy every week. So I like him as a manager, and I like what his team's doing. I'd probably put him as a back-end playoff team this year. And yeah, for dynasty, top 3, maybe top 2.
Yes, I agree. For dynasty, I have him at probably 1. I think he's the top dynasty guy, in my opinion. Probably right ahead of the guy we're about to talk about here in a little bit. But every move of his is pretty calculated, which is like, if you know Lucas, that's like very unlike him. Like Lucas, like whenever it comes to owning a team in fantasy, he's a very calculated individual, and I think he's made a bunch of moves, and he sees a guy that he loves and he wants to go after him. And usually, historically, throughout this year, he has ended up with that person. Oh crap, we got under 10 minutes left. But with
we might start a second episode and just cut it together because I really don't want to do these last 3 in 2 minutes apiece. So
okay,
if we have to do that,
okay. With regards to his running backs, I think his running backs are very touchdown dependent, with Damian Harris and Josh Jacobs being very goal line dependent and touchdown dependent. So I think Lucas is going to have some weeks where he might score a little low in that area if they don't score a lot of touchdowns. But overall, I really like his roster with the acquisition of T. Higgins. So I like his team a lot overall. Like for this year alone, I'd probably have him like the 5 or 6 spot in the playoffs.
Yeah. Which is nice. I mean, nice to have a playoff team that also has that much draft capital because, I mean, it's not like a total rebuild. Like he's good now and still has rebuilding capital,
Yeah, I was looking at 2023. Yes. Carter's, Mutri's, his own, and Jake 4 firsts next year. And then 3 seconds next year, too.
It's insane, dude.
That's crazy.
One of those being Jordan's, which will probably be a top 2 or 3 pick in the second round, So it's just, I mean, this guy might have 5 picks in the first 16 or 17 picks.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's doing a lot of things right. Got to admit. Moving on to number 3, we have myself. And so I will let you guys talk about me.
Well, I think there's a lot to talk about with you, Mr. Matt, because if we're looking at your team now compared to what it ended the season with last year, it's vastly different. Probably the most turnover in the league other than Mitri, I would say.
Or me. I've had a lot of turnover as well.
You did a lot as well, Carter. But Matt, let's dissect it, man. I mean, I know you've had a lot of conflicting emotions about this offseason you've had and the moves that you made.
Yeah, there's definitely been some sleep
Maybe we
lost.
should ask you this before any of us give our thoughts, just knowing that. As you sit here today, and I know I've heard you say I should have never traded JT the first time, and I've heard you say that I'm happy where I am. How do you feel now that we're at this point? What's your emotional state like, given the transformation you put your team through?
Spoken like a true counselor.
It's I don't know. It's you're asking me a question I can't answer, Ty. I mean, if I finish at 3, which is where this is putting me at, then I'm gonna absolutely hate where my team is at, because I was incredibly aggressive this offseason to win it all, and that's what Brandon did, and it just won him a championship. And I tried to kind of adopt his strategy a little bit. I was like, my team is 1 or 2 pieces away from winning a title, and I think my team's in a position right now to do it. But there's a lot of variance in fantasy. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And unfortunately for me, a lot of the teams that were also contenders all got better this offseason to make it even harder for me to win a championship. When I first did this move, or the moves I made to go all in, I think I was the favorite probably after those moves to win it all next year. But then, Ty, you did the moves you made to jump yourself into contender status. Brandon's still a contender, even though he hasn't really made any major moves, but like his team's already there. And then like obviously Lucas got a little better. Like everyone else got better that was already good. So now it's like my edge that I feel like I gave myself isn't as strong as it was. So if I win it all, then yeah, obviously I'm not going to care at all about losing JT. I'll lose 0 sleep out of it the rest of my life. I'll be a happy man. But if I don't, then yeah, it's going to kill me. So it's just it's an uneasy position I put myself in. I don't really know why I did it to myself.
That's drastic right there.
What?
if I win it all, fine. If I don't, it's gonna kill me. Like that's like ends in the extremes right there, bro.
Well, I'm like the LA Rams, man, and it's fitting because I have so many Rams on my team. But like I'm pulling their strategy, just trade everything, get a bunch of studs now, and let's just try to win this thing. And it worked out for them. It worked out for Brandon. I feel like history shows it almost has to work out for me, and if it does, we're good. I'll sleep at night, but we'll see, man. I think for this,
I'll let Carter give his piece. I think the thing that I love most about your team and that stands out is that Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp stack. That's lethal. That's going to be an awesome combo. Then that one that is not going to let you down any given week. I feel like that's as automatic as it gets between the quarterback and wide receiver.
yeah, they're safe.
That's steady and a really high ceiling. So I really love that for your team. And I think CeeDee Lamb, you should be excited about the offseason he had losing Amari Cooper. A lot opens up for him. And also having Schultz, I think both those guys are going to benefit from the lack of Amari Cooper in that offense. So I'll say that. I had Dalvin. I'll just say this. If you're into being comfortable on Sundays, and if that's what you prefer, Dalvin is not a great player to have on your team. He goes down once a game. The highs are high, but man, does he go down a lot. So hopefully he'll be a little steadier for you, and maybe he can not go down as much. But you do have Madison either way, so you steadied out there. Dobbins hopefully can bounce back, and we'll see what that offense looks like with the full season of him. I think your team's in good shape, man. I know you overhauled it, but I think that you are definitely a contender. So, Carter, why don't you go ahead? I've talked for a while.
I'm going to make mine brief. Barnes, I just want to start off with this. I remember exactly the spot in B-Dubs whenever I was sitting with you and Mitri and Evan was there. And y'all started talking about a hypothetical JT trade for Cooper Kupp, and I think Darren Waller was involved with that and stuff. And I remember telling you, I was like, dude, I would not do that for either of you, man. That's just terrible. And no one listened to me. No one listened to me, and then y'all still pulled the trigger, and neither of y'all are happy right now. I tried playing peacemaker, man. I was like, do what y'all want, but I think that's a terrible move for both of you.
I did the same thing with you with the Acres deal when you called me about it, and you still did it too.
Well,
And
the thing is, you listen to people whenever you make trades. I tend to not.
I
I
didn't
usually
listen
go
to
with that.
that time. I probably should have, but actually, I don't really like. Yes, I regret the Jonathan Taylor weekend, but we talked about this on a previous episode. I regret the second move to get Dalvin way more than the original one. I think even after trading JT like that, after that original move, I was really deep and had a ton of assets that I could have pivoted into a slightly cheaper running back, maybe got some draft capital, still been great, and not picked up a 28-year-old injury-prone running back. That was the mistake. I don't think the JT move was that bad of a mistake on its own. I don't regret that one that bad. I regret the second one. Just think I followed it up with an overpay. But like I said, at the end of the day, I have to look at my team and think next year I'm either 1 or 2. I think 3 is actually a little low for me. I think I'm a lock for the playoffs unless something crazy happens. And I think that I'm probably getting a bye more than likely. And we'll see what happens there. I'll have to win 2 games. But I think Stafford and Cup take me to the promised land. I think J.K. Dobbins has a solid season, and hopefully Dalvin gets a little bit of a bounce back with a healthy year. I love my receiving core. I love having Mooney and Waddle in the flexes. I think that's one of the best flex duos in the league.
Yeah, we should note your stickers real quick, too. You have the Over Easy, which is Stafford and Cup on the roster, the Breakfast Club, and the Rod Tidwell Award for top-rated wide receiver position. So a couple nice stickers there on your helmet, son.
The receivers are very nice. I love my receiving core. My running backs, a little bit more question marks, but still think they'll be pretty good. I still think it's a top 5 or 6, maybe 7 running back duo in the league for next year. So still not like a weak point, I would say. And then, I think Dalton Schultz will be a pretty solid tight end once again next year. Probably finish top 6 or 7. So don't really have any major weaknesses. So we're moving on to number 2 here. And so we have the defending champion, Brandon, at number 2. He's been kind of overtaken. Not going to be going back to back this year, according to this prediction, that he's going to finish number 2 and still be a top team, but lose in the finals this time. So, man, what can I say about Brandon? He's just been a very solid owner. There's been a few trades that I think he's lost, but the overall impact on his team has not been that significant. Like, he's still a very good team in a very good spot. I'm looking at his roster and I'm thinking, man, this guy's going to be starting 4 Bills next year, most likely. I mean, that's
not a bad offense to latch.
Yeah, no, if you're going to invest that heavily in a team, do it with the Bills.
The Bills and Bengals won him the championship last year.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got Josh Allen, probably QB1. 1 or 2 for Dynasty, I'd say, just because of his running ability on top of just his unbelievable arm and the amount of touchdowns he throws for and sometimes runs for. Josh Allen you can make a very strong argument he's QB1, and Rate My League actually does have him as QB1. So unbelievable at the quarterback position. And then he has Joe Mixon, who's probably still going to finish top 5 or 6 next year. No reason to see him falling off. They're great offense, and Joe Mixon's a great player, so still going to get the lion's share of the workload, and I don't see any reason he gets worse. One thing that's really going to help him is actually having an RB2 that he can rely on with Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne is going to be a really solid player. The fact that he has first-round draft capital, I mean, I know he is coming off, a tough injury, but he had a whole year to recover from it, and the injury happened before the season even started, so he should come back pretty fresh. And having that dynamic with Trevor already kind of being there and James Robinson out for probably a decent chunk of the season is going to give him the chance to really shine and be the guy for Jacksonville. So, I mean, that's going to help him quite a bit, actually, because last year he was switching between Darrell Williams and Khalil Herbert and Devin Singletary, and he just kind of got fortunate last season to catch them all on weeks where they were the guy, but now he actually has someone he can kind of plug in at RB2 and keep there, on a weekly basis. So like that for him. And his receiving core is very good. Having Jamar Chase, obviously dynasty wide receiver 1 or 2. I'd probably put him at 2, but great receiver. And Stephon Diggs, who's still probably wide receiver 1 in his own right for the next several seasons. So great duo there. And then still having Michael Pittman, that's a very strong flex. And Gabe Davis, who's a little bit of a wild card, but we saw last year in the playoffs what that guy can be, if he's fully given that spot. So now I don't think Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are really that big of threats anymore. So we might see
They're both retired, aren't they?
What?
They're both retired, aren't they?
I don't
Or
even
just
know.
He's not on the team anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Cole Beasley is. I mean, the one minor L I think Brandon took this offseason, I don't think it's like I said, I don't think it's going to hurt him that bad, but I don't know why he traded the 108 for Kadarius Toney. I really thought that was a horrible move by him. But it's pretty inconsequential to the success of his team. It's just, he could have had Chris Olave there, and I mean, who are you going to rather want, Chris Olave or Kadarius Toney? Like,
people are very split on Kadarius. I see a lot of people that are saying he's a great value and they're high on him and everything. I don't regret the trade though. I had a bad feeling about him. It was more of a gut feeling for me than anything. I just wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah, I think he's a very risky player, and you don't want players that have major character issues and you just don't know if they're ever going to be able to stay on the field. 1, due to injuries. He was injured so many times last year, but 2, just some of the stuff that's came out about that guy and like his character. I just don't trust that he's going to actually be able to be a consistent leader on that team. So don't really like him, but still it's not that consequential. And I think Dawson Knox regresses a little bit this season. We got a Dawson Knox explosion last year. And I still think he'll be a solid tight end, but I don't know if he's gonna be like top 4 or 5 like he was last season. Like I think he probably moves down to like tight end 9 or 10, So that could hurt him a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be that major of a downgrade. So yeah, I think he's probably still the back-to-back winner of the league if I had to say my prediction right now. I think he's in the finals. I think he's got a locked and loaded team, and it did not get really any worse.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, Matt. I think Travis Etienne's kind of an enigma and a big mystery. And I was listening to something the other day, and they said, Etienne got hurt and missed his whole rookie year. And rarely is it ever seen that a player that happens to, their value goes up and they're more highly regarded going in their second year. But it's been that way for Etienne. I think he tested like he was going to be a stud coming out of college. And then James Robinson's probably going to miss the whole year with that torn Achilles. So he's going to have that whole backfield to himself. But I do think you mentioned, we'll have like somebody to start at running back 2 last year. Part of the amazing thing about Brandon's team last year was he was getting such great production out of these backup running backs like Khalil Herbert, Darrell Williams. Those type of guys were stepping in and playing incredible roles, especially Darrell Williams for the Chiefs there. And he's on the Cardinals now. Khalil Herbert's still backing up on the Bears. James Robinson is a handcuff, and he's also out for the whole year. And then P. Ryan and Evans are both backups for Mixon. So really, I think the biggest knock on his team is he's kind of thin at running back, which, I mean, everybody's thin at running back. It's like the hardest position to have depth at. But I still think that's like a fragile spot of his team because Mixon's injury prone. Etienne just had a season-long injury. I think that is where I could see something going wrong is the thinness at that position. But just because I don't have much belief in Darrell Williams or these kind of depth pieces like they kind of popped off for him last year, I feel like that was kind of a good luck thing.
Yeah, it was definitely some luck because he literally, like, every time he needed a starter for a week, like one of the starters on their teams just happened to be hurt, and he just like had a ultimate, like, just didn't have to start a backup every single week. It was like he was starting the starter for that team, and it was just like, how fortunate can you get, man?
Yeah, it's a championship run.
Yeah.
But his team, dude, it's rock solid. It hardly changed. I like his team a lot. How can you not? It's fun. And the thing is he's 25 years old. 25.3 is his average age. That's crazy. That's so young for somebody who just won the league too. He's very young and very good. Exciting team.
Yeah. So I think most of the moves he's made are just very, very good, very very good combination of like win now and then for the future, like that deal he made with Barnes, dealing away JK for Joe Mixon, and there was a bunch of other assets in there. I think that was a really good move for him to eventually lead him to the championship and win it. And the only questionable move was the Michael Pittman in the 108 for T. Higgins, the deal with Lucas. I think the proof is going to be in the pudding this year. Michael Pittman, see how he meshes with Matt Ryan. You guys know the quote that he said with about Matt Ryan and everything.
Yeah.
Let's see how that works out for him. So, but back to what y'all said about his wide receiver cords. Pretty much no weaknesses there. Gabe Davis, he's going to be the wide receiver 2 for Buffalo this year. He's going to have an increased target share with Stephon Diggs, even though Stephon Diggs is the guy. So he's going to be able to start him at his as flex spot this year, and he's
Carter, you're cutting out.
roster is probably tight end if I had to pick one.
Mhm.
Yeah, my internet's a little crap. Sorry, but did y'all hear what I said about the tight ends?
I heard you say that, yeah, tight end might be his worst spot, but I didn't hear what else you said before that.
Okay. I'm not gonna repeat
I heard you
myself.
say Davis was gonna be good, but then you cut out and then you said tight end, but it's all right.
Okay. I'll start. I'm not gonna start over, but I'll just say it. Gabe Davis is gonna have an increased role with Buffalo's offense, and I think if I had to pick a spot that is the weakest on his roster, it'd be tight end. But overall, rock solid offense. He'd be my pick to win it this year.
So I want to go over his stickers real quick because there's some interesting ones. Got first off, Jason Street Award for best quarterback position, Friday Night Lights reference. Yeah, I love that. But he got probably 2 of the most interesting stickers and agree to disagree. So he was the team that Rate My League staff was most divided on. And he got RML approved, highest Rate My League staff ranking versus consensus. So they were most split on his team, but they also thought his team was better than what consensus would have made it. So I'm just curious as to what the consensus might have brought down with his team versus like what they're propping up, as opposed to who was the person who was lower than consensus, Austin, as opposed to Austin's team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Those are the 2 teams in the championship last year.
Yeah, isn't that interesting to think about?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what they're looking at probably would have to be what's making that higher than consensus is they're factoring in the stacks he has, like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, like the triple stack. That's pretty lethal. He's rarely going to have a bad week he's going to get really good production every week from.
And Dawson Knox, dude, he has every pass catcher in Buffalo.
I think that's got to be what it is. That's got to be what they're seeing, that like the rankings are not going to put ahead consensus. Because
like if Josh Allen has a bad week passing, like he's getting a hit at every single position. You know what I'm saying? So like his passing offense is determined on the Bills doing great passing every week, which so far has been a very safe bet. I'm just saying if there's ever a week where, I don't know, maybe James Cook plays unbelievable or something like that. I mean, I doubt it, but if there ever is a week where they're just running a lot, his whole team suffers. So.
And we saw how that strategy worked with him last year. Like the Bengals had a really good offense last year. There's never a game where Chase, Higgins, and Mixon were going to perform, like where one of them wasn't going to perform well. And oftentimes all 3 of them perform well. And that's how you get the 150 numbers and crazy things he was putting up. So I think it's a really smart way to construct a roster, and I really like what he's done. It's definitely.
I'm starting 4 Rams, but one of them is 2 of them are defense and kicker, but it's still
that doesn't count the same. You have Cooper and Matt though. You have the ones that matter.
Yeah. But moving on to you, Ty.
Numero uno.
You're 2 for 2 in these league rankers at finishing first in the league. So the algorithm really likes you, man.
Yeah. And I'm honestly pretty surprised by this one. I think if I was, as I'm objectively examining this, I would probably still have Brandon number 1. And then I think I would have you second and myself probably third. Just the way I'm seeing it. But I think that, I'll take it. I'm happy being ranked number one. They say I have the Al Bundy Award for top-rated running backs and Brian Murphy for top-rated tight ends. I think that makes sense. The running backs ones definitely. I mean, I have two of the probably top three and definitely top five running backs in Dynasty, and then tight end obviously Kelsey. And I guess they value Albert O pretty highly because he's the only other one I have. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more interested to hear what you guys think, honestly.
I think before you and Mitry's trade, I think I was kind of fearful for your team being a little too old, maybe a little too win now instead of like for the future. But then after that, I thought you were in some really solid shape, pairing JT with DeAndre Swift. And so, yeah, I think that's what brought your team to the top. And then let's see here, you acquired Treylon Burks in the first round. You had three or four first round picks to spare. That's why you traded me the 108.
Yeah, I had four
Yeah.
picks at one point.
Yeah, and then acquiring Debo for me. So who knows what's going to happen with him? But I mean, he's been showing up at training camp with the 49ers. Am I correct?
Well, he was, but then I heard something about how, like, he said he wasn't going to, like, that his holdout or whatever was still active and he was still looking for other teams. Like, so I still don't think that they've mended the relationship. Like, he's been showing up to the things he has to, but I don't think he wants to be there.
They got to
Okay,
get
but
Jimmy G. I think he went to get a certain amount of money that he wouldn't have gotten if he didn't go.
Yeah. I think he's still out of there. It just depends on where he goes and what they deal him for. You run the risk, Ty, and I know you know this, but you run the risk of San Francisco not moving off of him this offseason, then him holding out until they move him, you know? If he truly is unhappy there and he really wants to move, you know, it's possibly pushes hard on the organization to get him out of there by just not playing. So he hasn't shown this offseason to really be a guy that's anti-drama. I mean, he's been an unbelievable football player, but just thinks he's kind of done, like, you know, it's like behind the scenes TMZ type footage of him, like, you know, wearing shirts or just, I don't know, acting like he's completely out of the 49ers and making it so public that just kind of make it seem like he's not going to be the type to play for them if they don't move him. So you definitely, in a way, kind of want him to just be moved, even if it's to a team that's not quite as good of a situation. At least he'll be playing next season. So that's definitely a risk because, I mean, without him, your receiving core is definitely lacking. But with Debo, man, he's a wide receiver one for sure. And there's definitely a lot of question marks, Ty, but I love the way you built your roster. And I would personally put you at 3 for next season, but for Dynasty, probably 2. And think you got 2 or 3 at least. So you got a great situation. I just think for next year, you know, we don't know who's going to be throwing the ball to DJ Moore. It can't be worse than last year, but we'll see. We'll see if it's an upgrade. You know, is it going to be Matt Corral or is it going to be Baker Mayfield?
Baker, Jimmy G, give me one of those guys.
Matt Corral, baby. It's the Matt Corral show now.
But nonetheless, it's not going to be an improvement that's so massive that, you know, he jumps into being a top 6 or 7 receiver. Not likely. He'll still be a strong wide receiver too, but, you know, I know that when you traded for him, you were definitely hoping that he got that great quarterback and got to be a wide receiver 1. Don't know if he's in that position now. Like I said, Debo's a question mark. I liked your draft picks, but Treylon, you know, might take a year or 2 to fully develop. He's going to be in a position where he's immediately prominent and featured, but it's just kind of a matter of if he actually balls out to start his career. So he might take some growing pains potentially. Probably not as good of an instant starter as like a Garrett Wilson or someone like that, or Drake London would be. So could be some growing pains there in your flex. Also love the Pickens pick. I think he could be a great player, but also should have some growing pains. So definitely see some weakness in your flexes, but your running backs are the best in the league for Dynasty. And even just for next year alone, they're one of the top 2 or 3 backfields.
Agreed.
And Aaron Rodgers is still going to be very good. So, and Travis Kelce will still be very good for next year. Now, where you're going to have to try to figure out for Dynasty is kind of like when to move them to and kind of what you do it for, because, you know, they're both on the back end of their careers, but I know that's something that you'll figure out.
Yeah, I mean,
take a breath, Barnes. My gosh.
It's hard to have a perfect situation, I feel like, but all I know is my team is much better for right now and also for the future after this offseason.
For sure.
like regardless of where I would have been ranked in this, it's a drastic turnaround for the team from where I was. So I'm pleased with how things have shaken out. And really what allowed me to transform everything, Matt, was that trade we were talking about for Dalvin. And that was one that just kind of happened and fell into my lap pretty much because I knew you were looking to make that move. And I had no idea like how much that would kick into gear and start for my team. So I think I have you to thank for it. So thank you for
Glad I could help you out, buddy. What a true friend would do.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I think I'm getting floated up because of the top two running backs or top two of the top 5 running backs I have in my lineup right now. I think that's definitely floating me up, which it should, but I think that it's overlooking a few other warts and wrinkles in my team to do that. I still think I have a good team, but I do think that I would be 3 on this list behind you guys. I'm going to go put this curtain down real quick.
Right. We start with our playoff rankings now.
Yeah. So what we're going to do really fast to end the show, I'm not going to take too long in this, but we're going to say our way too early playoff seeds, like who we think will finish where. We're not going to actually predict how the playoffs play out, but just simply who will be in the playoffs.
Sounds like you already.
I think we all agreed Brandon retains next year.
Matt, you already predicted. You said I'm getting a first round bye, and you pretty much said I'm going to win it all and I'm going to hurt myself. So you.
No, I said I was going to get a first round bye, and then I still picked Brandon to win it all. Though when I talked about his team, and I said that I'm going to freaking jump into a wall of sadness.
Well, good thing you live alone, Matt.
Oh my God.
I'll be fine. My team's still pretty young. I just gotta win it all, man. It's now or never. So
I'm gonna take these down as we predict and date this.
Okay. I got mine.
June 29th. June.
who starts?
I'll start.
All right.
All right. So at number 6, I'm going to have Lucas Wyland. I'm going to have Lucas at number 6. Ty Chase's Buds at number 6. And then at 5,
Wait.
I'm going to take
Should we all give our 6 and then all give our.
Yeah, we can do that. So your 6 is Lucas Carter, right?
yes.
Okay, I think for my 6, I'm gonna go Jeremy. I think Jeremy squeaks in the playoffs this year. It's gonna be between him and Marcus, in my opinion. Him, Marcus, and Jake. I think all of those guys are within a spot of each other. Probably have similar records, and it might just come down to points for. Like I think it's gonna be razor close. I don't see a major difference between any of the 3, but I think Jeremy pulls it out and gets in the playoffs. I think Leonard Fournette kind of backpacks him there.
Let me collect myself here. Yeah, I'm going James in my 6th spot.
James, okay.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Interesting.
A hot take.
A little bit of a hot take, but we'll take it.
All right, go ahead. Start us up with 5.
All right. I'm going to go Jake at 5.
Okay. I will go Lucas here. I think Lucas makes the playoffs, gets the 5 spot. And yeah, keep him at 5.
I was thinking I was gonna go with you, Matt. I was thinking Lucas here as well.
Okay. So we all agree Lucas makes the playoffs this year. I'm sure he'll be very happy to hear this on the show, that we all still believe in him this year to be one of the better teams.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, I'm going Marcus McCleary. The Long Island Chumps. 1 spot above the namesake.
Okay.
Sorry, Marcus, I don't have you making the playoffs this year, buddy, but I like your team for the future. This year, I'm still going to go Austin at 4. Still think the core is mostly there. I think the receivers at least stay good enough. And I think Najee just goes crazy this year.
All right, I got Jeremy at 4.
Nice. Reasoning?
Because I think he's got a really good team.
We just gave our reasoning through
That's
2 episodes, Matt.
That's true. All right. Number 3, I'm going to go you, Ty.
Okay.
3, I got Matty.
Uh-oh.
Okay. You don't think I get a bye?
I think you're sad boy for next offseason.
I'm putting Brandon at 3.
Whoa.
Two.
Do I have Ty?
I'll go myself.
And Matt goes himself at 2. Okay. I'm going Matt. I'm going you at 2 as well. I'm going to be that guy.
Take yourself at 1.
I'm calling myself the champ. Yeah. You don't believe in yourself, who will? It's like the
Wait. Oh, I thought that we were just picking what? Oh, I didn't think we were picking our final ranking. I thought we were gonna pick where we're like what our playoff seeds were gonna be.
Yeah, essentially. I'm just assuming I'm gonna win at number 1.
Oh, you're gonna say number 1 seed wins. Okay, I was picking 2 as far as like my seeding, like where I think I'll be in the regular season. Doesn't mean I'm saying I won't win the championship.
Oh, well, okay, that's fair. I think I'm gonna be the 1 seed, and I think I'm gonna win. So
Okay, gotcha. And then with number 1, I'll still take Brandon.
Yeah, number 1, I'm torn between 3 teams. Jordan, Mitri. I'm just kidding. Yeah, Brandon's my 1 seed.
love it.
So read them out really quick, Ty, like fast, just kind of like what they all were.
Halfway through that, I think I was writing your guys down in the wrong spot. Can you just repeat yours and then
Mine?
remember them, or were you banking on me get to write them down?
No, mine. Yeah, no, I know mine. Mine is 1 Brandon, 2 me, 3 you, 4 Austin, 5 Lucas, 6 Jeremy.
4 Austin. Okay, yeah, I'm with you now.
Do you
Okay,
need mine as well?
so Carter, you had Brandon. Then you had
Brandon at 1, Ty at 2, 3 is Matt,
Marcus.
4 is Marcus, 5 is Jake, 6 is Lucas.
Okay, yeah, I had yours. And then I have myself, Matt, Brandon, Jeremy, Lucas, and James. Okay. So as of June 29th, there are ratings. I think I'm just going to send a picture of this to everybody in the chat.
Just to get everyone pissed off.
And I'll send the
Yeah, just get everyone buzzing.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds good.
Well, that was good. We'll figure out something for the next episode, but this was a fun series. I'm glad we could do it.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah,
It was a good time,
Thanks
guys.
for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Pleasure.
2 episodes. Wow. I'm like a regular.
Back to
Now, this was the most anticipated one, so glad we could finally deliver it.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right, see ya.
All right. See y'all.